Before we start using this program, just like any other new tool, it is important to learn the basics. So we're going to start with kind of giving a really brief introductory overview of the user interface. So when you open Civil 3D, you see your welcome screen that appears. There are several videos here that can help you get started if there's one particular thing that you're looking for. So at this welcome screen, I'm just going to hit exit here in the corner. The first button we see up here at the upper left corner, this is called the application button. So if I click on it, we see a little drop down menu that appears. The application button contains common commands such as new, open, save as, export, publish, print, drawing utilities, and close. It also contains a few other buttons such as options and exit that we see down here at the bottom. In the options button, I'm going to go ahead and click on options. We have a dialog that opens, which is basically our options dialog box. And this allows you to set some of your options. We have file pathing here, display settings, the way it opens and saves. We can control that with these settings. Plot and publish, system, user preference, drafting, 3D model, selection. There's a couple buttons in here in selection that you might be interested in unchecking. And that's down here where it says selection preview, when a command is active, when no command is active. Sometimes people prefer to uncheck these two boxes. For now, I'm going to leave them checked in. As we go through the tutorials, I'll give you examples when we might want to uncheck these two boxes. We have profiles, and over here on the right side we see two arrows, and this is pretty common with CAD. If there's more commands or more tabs, you can pan over by clicking this right arrow. You can see the rest of them that are behind here. And we have online, Aec Editor. And anytime you make a change, you always click apply and then OK. And clicking OK will also apply changes. If you don't want to make any changes, we just click cancel. The next area up here across the top is called our Quick Access Toolbar. The Quick Access Toolbar contains frequently used tools. The next area is called Workspaces. So if I hit this drop down, we can see all the different workspaces that Civil 3D has. And we can configure a workspace, change workspace settings, and we can customize things. Workspaces are similar to real-life workspaces. Imagine in your house you have a workspace in your kitchen, one in your garage, and one in your study. Each has some common elements such as space to lay things out and an area containing tools to perform specific tasks. But each workspace is unique depending on the work you are doing there. In the kitchen, you are cooking, in the study, you might be writing, and in the garage, you might be doing carpentry. Civil 3D's workspaces operate in much the same way, except you don't have to go to several different geographic regions to perform a task in your house. When switching workspaces, tools are rearranged and new ones may appear to match the workflow and type of work you are about to do. To switch workspaces, you can click the drop down, just as I have done here, and see available workspaces. You can also create and customize workspaces. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play around with this a little bit. I'm going to click on 2D drafting and annotation and just kind of watch and see how the workspace changes up. And we can see some tools were removed and others were added, and the bars have been reconfigured up here to match the 2D drafting and annotation type workflow. I'm going to switch to 3D modeling. And we notice now our tools have changed to more volumetric type objects that we can create. And we have tools such as extrude faces that are similar to SketchUp. Going to switch to planing and analysis. And our tools have changed to reflect that type of work. And now I'm going to go back to the regular Civil 3D workspace. And notice that my assemblies kind of stays open. I don't need them, so I'm just going to exit them for now. If I want them back on, I can always go over here and click on my tool palette. But for now, I don't need them. And you can definitely turn things on and off and configure it the way that you like, and then go up here and create a custom workspace that matches your workflow. For the purposes of this tutorial, I'm not going to create any custom workspaces or modify anything. I'm going to use the default ones built into Civil 3D. The next area up here is called the drawing name. And right now I haven't saved this or given it a name, so the default's usually drawing1.dwg. If I open another one, it'll be called drawing2.dwg and it'll just continue to count up. The next area over is called the Communication Center. This area requires an internet connection. The help menu has been revamped and is very helpful compared to help menus in historical releases of Civil 3D. So you might be actually kind of surprised the kind of help that you're going to get here is actually going to be pretty useful to you. The next area over here are the ribbon tabs. So we have several ribbon tabs located inside of here. And we can even turn some ribbon tabs on and off. We also have a little box here. It says minimize ribbon tab. We hit the drop down. There's other options that we can do with these tabs. And this is kind of like a toggle. So if I click this, it makes them look like this. If I click it again, it'll make them really small like that. If I click it again, it'll make them disappear altogether. And if I click it again, it'll make them go back to the way they were when I opened the program. And inside of this ribbon, we have panels. So inside the home, we have several panels going on inside of here. We have the palettes panel, we have the create ground data panel, we have the create design panel, profiles and sections, draw, modify, layers, and clipboard panels. There's several panels that goes on inside of our ribbons. Some panels extend to show more tools. So if I click on modify, this little arrow down here, it'll show me more tools that are included within this modify panel. The panels are kind of context sensitive, so depending upon the type of object that you select in your drawing space over in this big black space is called your drawing space. So depending upon what you select in your drawing space, and this is particularly true if you select a dynamically intelligent object, this panel up here is going to change up to reflect the type of tools that you can apply to that particular object that you select. So over here on our left side is our tool space. Tool space enables you to manage objects, styles, and settings within your drawing. So as we can see here, we have a prospector tab, a settings tab, a survey tab, and a toolbox tab. And right now you may not exactly know what all this stuff inside of here means, but as we progress through more Civil 3D tutorials, what all of this stuff means will be revealed to you. The next area we have is the tool space item view. So if I actually had something in here in my drawing space and I select it, there might be some data that gets displayed down here in this lower gray box area. This area allows you to view items you select in the Prospector tab. You can modify the name, the style, and other properties of the object using this area down here. While we're down here, let's just swing over to the right a little bit, and we notice that we see a little command line. And this is called, naturally, the command line. This area is used to type in commands. So we can just click inside of here and type in certain commands that we want AutoCAD to execute. Now, of course, if we don't like to use commands, we can always go up here and use the buttons up here. So back in the old day, we only had commands, so we had to type in commands. For a lot of us old-timers, we prefer to use it that way, so Autodesk has tried to tailor to both new audiences and older audiences by leaving this command line inside of here. The next area down here to the very far lower left corner, we see they're kind of like coordinates, and that's exactly what they happen to be. This is what they call the status bar. And status bar contains current coordinates of where your cursor is located at in the drawing space. And there's other information next to these coordinates. We have a bunch of buttons here. And these are basically toggles for object snaps, dynamic input, and other buttons for options such as Annotation Scale and Tool Space. So if we go all the way over here to the far right, we have some more. We can switch between model space, paper space, and go back to model space. We basically toggle back and forth the different types of spaces that we want. We also have tabs here that allow us to do that as well. And this is our annotation scale. So right now it's set at 1 inch equals 40 feet. And then over here, this is another way that we can also switch between workspaces if we don't want to have our cursor drag all the way up to the top up here to switch workspaces. You can also use the little gear symbol down here to switch between workspaces. And there's other buttons here. If you roll your mouse over it, it tells you what it does. It says Toolbar, Window Position Unlocked. This means I can change my interface up. The next one is hardware acceleration is turned off, and this is mostly related to your video card. This one is isolate objects, and the last one is to clean the screen. So we're not going to play too much around with these buttons. Later on, as we progress through the tutorials, we'll start using some of these buttons and you'll discover what some of these buttons are all about. So for now, don't worry too much if you don't know exactly what they mean. Just be aware that there are some buttons down here and they do certain things. You don't need to know exactly what they do. Over here on the right side, I have some docked toolbars, and this is pretty common. If you like docked toolbars, you can definitely add more toolbars in here. But in most of the tutorials that I was showing you, I won't be using any of these toolbars. I might use maybe this one here, but that's on very rare instances. So by default, Civil 3D will open with some toolbars over here to the right. If you like them, you can add more in. If you don't like them, I believe that you can also remove them by dragging it out, maybe not. I think you can just uncheck this and they'll go away. For the purpose of this tutorial, I'm just going to leave my interface at the default settings so that what you see when you open Civil 3D at the first time will be the same thing that you'll see on my screen as well.